G'day guys, I'm Totally Zoo and welcome back to Wirradale Zoo. So this is the second video for this series. So we're still just working on some of the basics that you'd like at your zoo. So today we're working on the exit and the gift shop, primarily with a few little bits and pieces around that as well. So I apologize for not yet working on any big habitats. They are just around the corner, but I feel like getting some of this necessary infrastructure working is going to make the long-term development of the zoo a lot easier. It's always nice to know the exit definitively, where it is, how much space it's going to take, and all that type of stuff. You're not having to think about, you hope you're not impinging on that space, or otherwise you dedicate a bit of space to be put aside and realize that you put aside way too much, and then you've got this awkward amount of space in between. So anyway, we left last time with some of the staff area just being a really basic, just chuck down all the buildings. So I figured today, whilst doing the exit, we can also do sort of a zoo management building as well. So they are one and the same, and just continuing on with the building style that we used last time. So a lot of this nice modern wood, black metals, glass, and yeah, as you'll see, we throw in a few other things, but those are kind of the main ones that we use with this. So we'll see as that unfolds across the whole video. I'd just like to say a thank you to the people that watched the first episode. I am acutely aware that this process is not going to instantly start with thousands or tens of thousands of views. As you see with other creators, I realize that this will take some time, but it's great to get a few people willing to check it out, because the first steps are probably the hardest. Once YouTube sort of realizes that a couple of people have watched it, it'll start recommending it, is the hope. But in the short term, I've shared it on a few smaller forums and platforms, and so everyone who has watched it, I'm very grateful for that. And especially a couple of people who dropped a comment in the video, and also a few people who messaged me online to just give me some thoughts. That was very generous of them to do that, and so thank you. Looking back at what we're working on, I decided this area could have a bathroom that would be appropriate for the staff that are working in this area, but also obviously in terms of in-game mechanics, it's nice to have toilets around the place. This also draws a few of the guests over, and they can buy some stuff from the gift shop. Not that money matters on sandbox mode, but still, it would be nice. You'll probably see throughout the video there are some issues that we get with the Z fighting, which is where you have two of your objects are in the exact same plane, and they end up clipping back and forward in where the textures are fighting with each other because they're in the exact same height, which is a little annoying, but that's just something you have to deal with. I wanted to have a rounded edge to the building in that corner area where it curves, and so I knew when I was doing it that would lead to some annoying mechanics as it went, but I also realized that when you do it building with this wood, you can't exactly have small little corners and curved sections of it, because it's obviously very directional, so you've got to be aware of that. But I was willing to put up with that. One of the slight frustrations with the gift shop in this game is that the entrance to it and the exit to it have to be in the same spot. I would have loved to build this gift shop so you walk through it, you potentially buy some stuff, and then you leave the zoo on the outside. Obviously you can't make the guests leave that way, but I still thought it would be kind of nice to see guests do it like that. but you know, we'll hopefully see at least some that come in and use this shop. It's looks all right. I used some of the most basic gift shop stuff, but I think that looks pretty appropriate for what it is. Most gift shops at zoos are going to be selling very similar stuff, so I'm happy that we've got it there. And we've got a little worker there who can help hopefully sell some stuff along the way. In the meantime, there was a few thoughts that I went through around the structure of this building itself. So what's the roof going to look like? What is the exterior looking like? As you can see here, we're dealing with some of that Z fighting where we start to see these things clipping out, so I did have to spend a fair amount of time working on that, but that's okay. And something that I used a decent amount with this was the Steam Workshop. So I've already used the bathroom, just the sink. I got that from the Steam Workshop, and when we work on some of the office related supplies later on, that's also using some of the Steam Workshop stuff. It just really helps because some of these things that have been made by others, they do take a really long time and a whole lot of pieces to put together, and it's not exactly worth it when you're looking at this video on its own is sped up 8 times, so it's something around 4 hours of just pure recording just to get this going. So working for an hour or two on a single construction piece is difficult to justify. And at the end of the day, I'm doing this for fun, so I am quite happy letting others do that part. And you can see the links to those pieces in the description if you are interested. This little section here was quite nice. We have a little path for the staff to work through, and again, it's not exactly functional, but I end up putting a few little supplies, a couple of warehouse related things, a fridge with some food in it, and that type of stuff that the keepers might grab on the way through to feeding some of the animals. So that's all right. We end up dealing with this problem a lot, and I've had to cut out probably close to an hour's worth of footage of me just tearing my hair out working with the paths in this game. They are an absolute nightmare. So yeah, they have caused me a lot of frustration just in the process of this video, not to mention all the other times they've caused me frustration outside of it. So I think that's a universal experience in this game, and that's all right. Hopefully we see them fixed maybe in a sequel or something, which I thought would be a nice segue into the discussion topic for this video. I'm really interested to hear people's thoughts on a potential sequel, if there eventually is one. Do you want a sequel? If there is a sequel, what do you want to see in it? And what species do you think will return? And what are the main selling points of that sequel, if there is one? So personally, I think one of the big things that a sequel for this game should focus on is performance issues. Obviously, there are a few crashes, and you can get pretty severe lag in this game if you aren't careful. You know, the bigger the zoo gets, the more guests you have, the lag can get absolutely unbearable. So that will be hopefully something that is addressed in a potential sequel. I also think personally that you have to have all of the species currently in this Planet Zoo 1. We should be seeing every single one of them in Planet Zoo 2 in the base game. I think the big selling point for Planet Zoo 2 will be the aviaries, which they hopefully add. It'll be interesting to see how they manage that with the null barriers and that type of thing, how they carry over for an aviary type building, but I'm sure they're well and truly capable of that. And the last one that I really want to see is scalable construction items. Definitely there are other things, so aquatic species would be a big one, but those 3 that I've mentioned, or 4 maybe, would be my sort of must-see, and everything else is a bonus. So, working on the path system, that I think is important, but to me that's a bonus on top of everything. So anyway, do you think there will be a sequel anytime soon? I'm hoping we get another 2 or 3 rounds of DLC before we end up working on a sequel, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. So in the meantime, as you can see, we're starting to work on a 2nd floor of this building. I wanted a carpet floor, and there's no great carpet floor. You have to use these ones, which I don't have a huge issue with, but it would be nice if there was a bigger one, because you end up just having to have a whole lot of carpet pieces down. But that's okay. And yeah, this lets me put in, I think I ended up doing the trade center, which makes a whole lot of sense, being in the sort of zoo management building. I also did a staff room and a research center. Now the research center doesn't really have any purpose in sandbox mode, but I put it there anyway. I wanted to adhere a little bit to the realism aspect, as I've talked about before, so I avoided putting the vet center or any keepers huts in this upstairs area. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense in real life. So I think we'll eventually one day have the vet surgery, have that be one of those visible ones. I think there's a lot of zoos these days that try to have some of that aspect, probably not all of it, but some of it visible through a window somewhere, so you can see people working on their animals and that type of thing. I think that's a really cool feature that some zoos have, so we'll probably try to reproduce that at some point down the line. But yeah, that also helps lead me into the building tip for today. So last time, obviously, we talked about building by inspiring yourself. So whether that's seeing something out in the real world and taking a photo of it, or trying to reproduce something you saw at another zoo, or even just a normal building, and also seeking inspiration by watching others, whether it's just seeing people's screenshots or watching videos or whatever it is, if you want to really go the extra mile in terms of building skills. Today I thought I'd give one that's maybe not as universally applicable, but something that is surprisingly useful. So I want to talk about recoloring. So the carpet that I've used in this building is a good example of recoloring. It obviously has a flower texture or something on it, but if you color everything the same, you don't see it. And that becomes a surprisingly powerful feature across the zoo making process. There are all sorts of things that are recolorable. Most enrichment items are recolorable. A huge amount of rocks and stones and other building items like that. But obviously the wood that we're using in this building, that's recolorable. There's all sorts of things. I would encourage trying to get a bit of a handle as to what items are recolorable, and using that when you can. There are times where it's not really that appropriate, but it's a great idea to sort of get into the habit of that, because there, like I say, are a surprisingly high number of uses that you can achieve out of that recoloring that can get you a long way. But anyway, enough of that. I wanted to just take a minute or two here to talk about something that I touched on briefly last time, but didn't go into a lot of detail on. So I talked about the reason that I'm playing sandbox mode instead of playing challenge mode, which I normally do. And the main reason for that is, as I sort of touched on last time, it just helps me decide my own realism. So obviously in challenge mode, the game has its own set criteria for what it considers to be animal welfare, and if you don't hit that, if you don't reach what the game suggest that you should, then obviously the animals will suffer. And there are some annoying instances where that can actually harm the realism of your zoo. So, for example, there are animals that will be outside of their comfortable temperature range, and therefore you have to put down heaters and coolers, and those things, they don't exist in real life. Outdoor heaters and coolers that can cool down something from 30 degrees to -5 degrees or whatever it is. I mean, those just don't exist in real life. So yeah, I don't like using those if I can avoid it. So the classic thing is you can build a section of the habitat that's indoors and a section that's outdoors, and then on hot or cold weather days your animals can just go indoors where they'll be a lot more comfortable. You can't exactly just do that because of the AI in this game, so that's one of the main reasons. But there are a few others related to that as well. I mean, this is a fairly well-known annoyance for some of the Planet Zoo player base, but animals that have welfare issues because the plant life in their habitat is not from their original continent. Animals born in captivity that somehow know where the plant life comes from their original continent. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all, and that's fairly annoying to deal with when you have that, but not a huge issue. It just means that because I'm playing sandbox, I don't have to worry about that type of thing. I can decide for myself whether something's an issue. So sorry to go on a bit of a rant about that, but I thought that's worth making my thought process with that clear, because I do think there are some really nice challenges that you get by playing in franchise mode or in challenge mode, but it didn't seem quite worth the other nuisances that arise with that. So hopefully that makes sense, and if you were wondering, that's why. So that is hopefully again something that maybe is addressed with a potential sequel. I'm segueing back to that, but anyway, we'll see how that pans out. So I did mention in the last video that I want to try to have an animal species in every episode. I've already gone and broken that goal. I just didn't think it made a whole lot of sense to throw in a species around the exits, so I'm thinking this might be one of the only times I make an exception to that rule, but anyway, we'll see. I do plan on starting with the habitat animals very soon, so hopefully we can see that potentially in the next episode. In the meantime, there's a little bit of time left. I'll leave you guys to watch the rest of this as we finish off most of the exterior and a little bit more of the interior of this office building, and I'll come back towards the end just to finish up the video and to say goodbye. So enjoy. Okay, so as we add some of the finishing touches to this area, obviously we've left a lot of this entrance zone still untouched, but there's plenty of room to work on that in future. I've left some of it because I'm not entirely sure where we'll be building, which directions, and with how much space we'll need. So I've left it for now, and we'll add those finishing touches as we go. But yeah, well, once again, thank you for watching. It does mean a lot to get some people willing to check this out. As I've said, if you've got any feedback at all, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, please let me know. Any feedback you've got, whether it's relating to the process of making the zoo in game, or whether it's relating to the video quality or audio quality or anything like that, please do let me know. I'm really keen to hear what people have to think. I'm definitely not an expert at making videos, so I am really keen to take into account whatever feedback you've got and work on it. But anyway, that's enough waffling on for me today. Once again, thank you for checking it out, and we'll hopefully see you again next time. Thanks for watching.